It's me, Erica. If we haven't met before, welcome to my channel. I am a personal chef, otherwise known as a professional meal prepper. You could say that I am a professional chef. I cook and people pay me to do it. And we are sitting down because I'm going to take a peek at Emma Chamberlain's video from January 10th, 2021 called Maybe I Can Cook. I have literally no exposure to this woman. I know her name. I've never watched any of her YouTube videos. I imagine she is very charming given that she has 10.9 million subscribers. And I know that food is not her, no pun intended, bread and butter. After I watch it, I'm gonna take a stab at whatever recipe she makes. Maybe this will be a series, professional chef reviews, blank person's meal. But yeah, let's get into it. Let's take a peek at what we've got cooking here. You can really learn to cook from YouTube. I obviously believe that. I'm happy that she's doing the same thing.
But there's something I've been wanting to make since I started my new cooking journey about a week ago. I'll show you. They're called Buddha bowls, and they're like these healthy, like vegetable bowls. So we're gonna do that today. Cooking with Emma, white meat edition. Growing up.
Is she married? I don't know.
I'm making kale, chickpeas, tofu, and cauliflower and broccoli mixed up together. Okay, so what do we start with? First, we set the oven to 400 degrees. Watch me get an air fryer next. Everybody is upset.
Ooh, I don't have an air fryer. I don't think you need one.
Okay, this is how I press the tofu, by the way. Take another plate and I put it on top.
Oh, she's pressing it. This is how I would do it too.
And I don't even know if it works.
It doesn't work that way. You need to put something heavier on top of it.
Next, we're gonna do our veggies. The thing about me is that I have really bad digestion, right? And if I don't eat a lot of fruits and vegetables, I'm just not gonna poop.
Yeah, that's real. That happens to me too. Gotta eat veggies.
Now notice, I brought it pre-cut because I'm a lazy piece of shit. It needs a little bit more.
Buying pre-cut veggies if you can afford them and that's the thing that's gonna get you to cook, don't feel guilty about that. I think that this is great. I don't think she should call herself a lazy piece of shit. I think it's good. She's cooking. That's not lazy.
More cutting, okay? Because like pieces like this, who could fit it? So we're going to cut these into smaller pieces.
Yes, very good. You want your eating experience to be positive, and eating a huge chunk of broccoli is not going to be. So I like that she's done this here.
A lot of it, a lemon. Fun fact, I found that store-bought lemons taste way better than lemon juice from a bottle.
Yes, they do. Way better. So worth it. Don't buy that bottled crap, please.
Excuse me, where's my pink Himalayan salt?
I don't love that she's using a salt grinder here. So I'll talk about what I do instead once we get cooking.
Cooking is all about instinct. It's like, okay, this looks kind of dry. We're gonna add a little bit more olive oil. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, so good. I'm so happy she's doing this. She started out with a lot of olive oil and then looked at it and decided it wasn't enough still.
Is it weird to like try one of the pieces raw?
No. Not weird at all. This is good. If it's not meat, try it raw. You'll know whether or not it's seasoned appropriately.
Take a can of garbanzo beans. Next, take your favorite.
Ugh, I don't like chickpeas that much. I'm bummed she's using them. I'll still cook them. Let's see. The chickpeas are really close together. They're quite crowded. They're not going to crisp up. I don't know if that's the goal, but they're definitely not going to the way that they're on the baking sheet right now. The same thing with the broccoli and cauliflower. I meant to mention that it's just not going to crisp up.
It's also easy because everything cooks for 30 minutes. You just leave everything in the oven for 30 minutes. You're done. Oh my God.
I don't think that's going to be the case. I think different things are going to need to come out at different times, but let's see.
I did wash my hands before I started, but there's still something gross about what I'm doing, and I understand that. No, I didn't.
No, I don't agree with that at all. You should use your hands to cook. I don't think it's gross. No.
Probably too much, to be honest. I'm going to go through and I'm going to pick out the stalks because I really hate.
I'm so happy she's doing this. I also hate eating the kale stalks. She's got curly kale that's been pre-chopped. A lot of times that has the kale stalks in it. When I do the grocery shop for this, I'm going to pick up dinosaur kale. It's a lot easier to get the stalks out. I will show you how I do it.
15 more minutes in the oven, and then whatever's next, God only knows.
I wonder if she did any like cleanup or multitasking during that time. She said she's gonna make a sauce. It looks good. Everything actually got a good amount of color on it. I'm kind of surprised given how crowded things were. Let's see.
It doesn't really look as good as what I want it to look like, but I don't even care at this point.
That happens to the best of us.
If you cooked everything, you're allowed to use a pre-made sauce. So I'm using...
She's using a pre-made sauce. Okay. I think that's great. I feel the same exact way about the pre-made sauce as I do about the pre-chopped broccoli. If that is what's going to get you to cook, if you're like, I don't have to make the sauce, use the pre-made sauce. Let's see what kind of sauce she's using. I will probably make something just because I think that 30 minutes of baking time would be a good time to make a sauce.
Guys, it looks pretty impressive.
It looks good. It actually does look really good.
Guys, are you freaking serious? I'm so proud of myself right now. This is unbelievable. Believe in yourself. Look at me. I just cooked something and am now eating the whole thing. I can cook.
Yeah, this is so good. I'm so happy she's making content like this because I think a lot of people cooking on the internet, and I may be guilty of this, make things look more complicated than they have to be and aren't as open about what actually goes into cooking. And this was a very simple, easy meal, and she's so excited to be eating it. That's amazing.
Oh my God, when she burps in your face and then gives you a kiss, that's hot. Bye.
Does she always sign off with a whisper like that? It's kind of cute. Okay, she did a great job with it. Let's see if I can show you a couple improvements we can make to that recipe. Okay, let's cook. Hello, I'm gonna be getting ready to cook in about an hour, which means that I'm actually gonna do the first thing a little different from Emma now, which is press the tofu in advance. This just gives the tofu more time for that moisture to get out of it. I don't know why they don't make these easier to open. Hello, welcome to my sink where I'm going to just... Okay, so I've got my tofu all wrapped up on this plate, and I'm actually gonna put another towel underneath it to really absorb that moisture. You could do this with a paper towel, but I'm eco-friendly. I'm putting this heavy cast iron on top of it. I really want a tofu press. That's like my next probably kitchen gadget. I was using one in the video that I shot at Shayna's if you want to see what those look like and how they work. I will drop a link below, maybe link something up here or over there. I don't know where it shows up. Now I'm gonna go grab two more things to weigh this down to really press the moisture out of it. So the heavy items in my kitchen are just cans. And then this is just gonna sit here for an hour. Then we'll finish this dish off. I'm back. It has been just an hour. I'm so proud of myself. So the tofu's been pressing, probably about ready to be dealt with. I just went back and rewatched Emma cooking. That was fun. She's so cute. I noticed that she cut the tofu before she pressed it, which is fine. It will press faster if you do it that way, but definitely not if you just lay a single plate on top of it. You do still want some weight. We're gonna get to the tofu in a minute. Let's do veggie stuff first. Okay, I went with pre-cut veggies because I think that is great. I've already mentioned it. I'm a proponent of taking shortcuts where you need to take them. Baking sheet. Okay, I am already having this little issue with the parchment rolling up on me. Okay, so when you crinkle the parchment paper, it stays nice and flat. I do want to preheat the oven. Going to 400 just like she did. Okay. You can see I got one big bag of broccoli, one baby bag of cauliflower. I'm not going to use this whole thing. This will keep in my fridge for a few days. Broccoli's pretty hardy, so... So this is one issue with the pre-bagged veggies, but I am going to do exactly what Emma did. I'm gonna toss some of this on, and I'm picking out the pieces that I think look too big. Before I do any cutting, I will tell you that I have my standard stable cutting board set up. I've got a piece of drawer liner underneath my cutting board to keep things from sliding around. I'm such a stickler about this. I really hate to see people cutting on wobbly cutting board, especially people who do this professionally. I'm like, what are you doing? It's so dangerous. I am picking out the pieces that look just like too big to eat. I'm sorry. We want everything to be about the same size so that it bakes at an even rate, and my smallest broccoli pieces are probably like they're pretty small. They're nice and bite-sized. So I'm gonna cut down the big boys to be bite-sized as well. I am just taking my knife. I like to cut through just the stalk of the broccoli and then separate the crown, and this keeps things a little bit cleaner. Ugh, it's so stinky. It's already crowding, so I'm gonna take some off and I'll probably enjoy that for dinner later this week. I really wanna make sure that my veggies are not crowding each other on the baking sheet. That is something that I noticed was happening with Emma's. It's gonna cause the veggies to steam rather than bake and get those nice like little crispy brown bits. And use 2 pans if you need to. Everything's got at least like half an inch of space. That's what we want. These little like bits that are left on the cutting board are gold. They're gonna turn into like little crisp nuggets in the oven. Don't throw those away. She probably eyeballed about 1/4 cup of olive oil. I think that that's right. And again, I really love that she looked at it, tossed it together, and then decided it wasn't enough. So I'm gonna do the exact same thing. I think she was using a salt grinder. I freaking hate those things. I'm using a little pinch pot full of sea salt. This is just a much easier way to gauge how much salt you're using, and you're gonna get to know your salt a lot better and not have to measure it anymore when you do it this way. I like things quite salty. I'm probably doing about 3/4 of a teaspoon right now, and then I'll taste it just like she did. Garlic powder. I like that she used a lot. We'll use a lot too. I looked up the seasoning mix that Emma was using, and it's good seasoning. I just don't have it. I'm gonna use one that I have on hand and that I like. This is such a flexible recipe that I really don't think it's gonna be a problem, and I'm basic, so I'm using everything but the bagel seasoning. This has salt and garlic in it as well, so I'm gonna be stinky. We love to see it. Tossing with our hands. Seeing the exact same thing she did, which is I want a little more olive oil. It's wet with olive oil. We're not adding much fat to this dish other than in oil form, so it's important that you've got a fat source in a meal, definitely flavor-wise. She did chickpeas next, right? The only thing really different I'm doing from Emma in this case, I don't know, she might have done this and just done it off camera, but I'm gonna drain and rinse these. They are stored in this really nice starchy liquid, but we don't want it on the chickpeas in this case. Drain. They're kind of stinky. Just not a fan. I feel like they're so gritty. Maybe I'll like them in this though. I have a feeling we're gonna need 2 baking sheets. I really don't want to crowd my tofu or my chickpeas. She did them on the same baking sheet, which is great for dishes if you don't want to have to do a lot of dishes, but we're using parchment paper already, so cleanup should be pretty easy, and I don't want to crowd things. So let me put this bigger one away and use 2 smaller ones. Okay, amazing. So chickpeas are going on, and I really don't want them to dry out. I feel like there was a big fad like 3 years ago where people were like, I love eating crispy chickpeas as a snack. I don't think that's what we're going for here. I think we're just trying to bake them off and infuse them with a little flavor while they're in the oven. Also, sorry if you can hear that. That is my cat being naughty in the background. Charlie! Emma again used, it seemed like whatever seasonings were calling to her, so I'm gonna do that too. When she tasted hers, they were not salty enough. These were packed in a little bit of salt, but they're not salty already, so Salt Bay moment. Do smoked paprika, quite a bit. I'm gonna use some pepper. Let me get my pepper grinder, just a minute. Here she is. Garlic powder. I am measuring everything with my heart. This is a peek at what cooking in my kitchen when I'm not recipe testing looks like. Once you learn the basics and you're comfy, I think that using a recipe can really slow you down in the kitchen. So I prefer to cook this way. It tastes really good. Very wet. Let's process our tofu now. And while I'm doing this, what should we chat about? Emma was talking about how she's over TikTok. I still really like TikTok. I enjoy it. It feels like self-care to like sit for an hour watching TikTok. Is that sad? Maybe a little. Whenever I cut tofu, I always cut it in kind of a rustic way. We want them relatively the same size, but they don't need to be perfect. I'm really excited about this tofu. I do enjoy a crusted tofu situation. Something that I don't think a lot of people know about tofu is that if you're going to bake it, marinating it before you bake it, you're really just undoing the work you did to press it. So crusting it, adding flavor by rolling it in something like panko, or we're gonna do nutritional yeast and a couple of other things today. Make sure that it gets that crisp texture, but re-soaking it in a marinade is just wetting it again so it won't crisp up. Does that make sense? So I'm gonna add it to my baking sheet and then add a little bit of olive oil just so things stick. I'm also going to add a secret ingredient to help things crisp up even more. Nutritional yeast. Let's do some garlic powder in this. We're going to add our secret ingredient. Let me go get it. If you found me from some Goodful videos, you might have seen my cabinets get reorganized, and clearly I have not done a good job keeping up with that. Secret ingredient. Cornstarch. Cornstarch is just going to help things crisp up. I'm probably using about a tablespoon. Let's start dredging our tofu in it. Heinz ketchup is the only ketchup that should exist, and I won't say more on that. And I'm gonna set a timer for 15 minutes so that I can toss things halfway through. I really love that she used a store-bought sauce, and really agree with the point that if you are cooking everything else, cut yourself a break, use a store-bought sauce. That said, we have 30 minutes, so I'm gonna make a sauce. I bet it's gonna be a little more flavorful than most things you can buy at the store. We are gonna make a tahini miso vinaigrette situation. We are going to use it directly on our kale as well as drizzle on top. So for this, I am going to drop some kind of measurements down in the box below. My main advice to you when it comes to making a sauce is that it is individual. You should taste it as you go along. So I'm using some miso paste. It's a soy product that when fermented gets so yummy, so savory, very umami, and the mellow stuff is also a little sweet. Licking my fingers, I'm the only one that's gonna be eating this. Tahini, which I love. And this is gonna be probably about 2 tablespoons of tahini. The miso is quite thick, so I'm gonna do a premix to combine the miso and the tahini as best I can. We're gonna do a couple things to thin it out. First thing is we're gonna add probably about 2 teaspoons of maple syrup. I'm using a tablespoon and eyeballing it. Fun fact, a tablespoon is 3 teaspoons. Charlie's here checking out what's going on. Hello. Oh, I'm gonna have to give my hands a wash after this, but you're worth it. Bye-bye. I'm gonna add probably about 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar. That's all I've got left. Thank you for your service. And so I'm gonna add a pinch of salt. And let's do probably about a tablespoon or 2 of olive oil. Whiskey whisk. This is important, especially working with tahini. It is an emulsifier. It seizes up very easily when you add any acid, or the miso in this case did it. So you need to feel comfy just eyeballing water to get it to the consistency that you want it to be. So, hello. Now our dressing is very thick and we want it to drizzle still. I'm gonna add a tablespoon of water at a time and just whisk it, but before I do that, I'm gonna taste it. Adding water is gonna dilute things, so I want to make sure that the flavor is really amplified before I start adding water, and I can already tell this needs salt and it needs a little bit more sweetness, so I'm gonna do that. Let's do it. This is like the most chaotic I've ever been on camera before. I don't know. You tell me, are you enjoying this? I would love to hear in the comments below if you want to see me do more everyday type cooking, if you want to see me do more celeb food reviews. I think you've already gotten the message that I'm very impressed with Miss Chamberlain. Chamberlain? I feel like an old lady. I really don't know. I love seeing what other people eat. I'm so nosy. But yeah, so leave it in the comments below. And while we're talking about it, why don't you throw me a like and a subscribe? Oh my god, this is so good. Let's do our kale. So this is one of the other major things that I'm gonna say could be improved upon with this recipe. Again, I think Emma did great, and I don't think there's any problem with buying a pre-processed veg, obviously. But that said, kale is just a pita. That's what my mom called me growing up. I think you can figure out what it stands for. It's a pain in the... A lot of times when it's processed by someone else other than you, you buy it in a bag, it's got these like really tough stems in them. They're not yummy. I mean, they're edible, but if you're eating it raw, it's just so unpleasant. 10 out of 10, do not recommend. So I have a handy dandy way that I take them out. I've shown this to you in a previous video, but I will show it to you again pretty quickly. If you want to see a detailed version of how I did this. What video did I show? Oh, my fall meal prep, my meal prep for fall. Check that out. Everything's already smelling so good. This is probably equivalent to the amount of kale that Emma was working with, and it's gonna be just as quick to process it ourselves ourselves as it would be to buy it store-bought and then pick out all the stems. This method that I'm about to show you is a lot easier with this dinosaur or like flat leaf kale. You could do it with curly kale, but I just find it's a lot easier. All I'm gonna do is at the bottom of the stem, I'm gonna pull off the leaf from the stem on either side. I am then gripping the stem and I'm going to give the stem a little pull, like a pull tab, and the leaf just comes right off. Magic. And I'm just gonna continue doing this. It's actually so satisfying too. And then to cut this, all we're doing is I like to just roll the leaves up into a little fat cigar situation. I don't know what to call this. I'm now grabbing my cigar roll thing. I'm curling my hands under to protect my fingertips, and then I'm going to use my knife to obviously cut it, and I'm going to use my knuckles to guide my knife cuts. Okay, beautiful. Now it's going into a bowl. Emma just did olive oil and salt. I think that's totally fine. But if you want to pre-dress it like far in advance of when you're going to serve it, it definitely holds up and only gets better really over time. So I am going to do that. I'm gonna check on everything before I go on to the kale and probably give the broccoli and cauliflower a little stir. Let's see. So nice. We're actually already getting to the point with color that Emma's was at the end, and that's because we didn't crowd the plate. So we're gonna get a little bit more color in the end than our gal did. We really want it crisp. Here is such a good learning moment for me and for you. I already mentioned that I don't really want to crisp those chickpeas up. That's just not my jam. I feel like it makes them even grittier. I just tasted one and they've got a nice kind of crackly outside and the inside is a little bit creamier than it was when it came right out of the can. So it's to the point where I want it. I want to eat it. I'm not going to bake them any longer. I'm going to go ahead and flip the tofu. Don't do that at home. It's not crisp. Not crisp at all yet. You can always let it go for a little longer. Such an important thing about cooking is just that you need to be comfy going off script, as we are doing right now. Back into the oven, let's set another timer, and then let's finish our kale. So, as I was saying, I'm gonna do a little bit of salt, just the salt and the olive oil will help the kale leaves break down even more. I'm gonna do a little pre-massage. So I'm adding, this is about a serving of kale for me. I'm adding about a tablespoon of dressing now, and I'm gonna dress the rest of the bowl later. Yummy. And look at that. We processed our kale, and we made a dressing in the time that everything's still baking, and I still have time. How much time do I have? I still have 15 minutes to clean up, so let's see if I can get the cleanup done in 15 minutes. This is the time when Emma had an ad break, but we don't have anyone sponsoring this video. Open to it though. Oh, is it lunchtime? I'm already finished with my pre-clean and I have 3 minutes left. I love this meal. It's so fast, easy. Let's see how it tastes though. Ah, it looks so good. Yes, amazing. It smells so good. The tofu ended up crisping up. I'm so happy. They kind of look like little chicken nuggets. I'm not mad about it. Could they go a little longer? Maybe, but I'm feeling a little lazy and hungry. Langry, zungry, hangsy. Anyway, I'm gonna let this cool down a little and talk to you about one final thing that I'm gonna do a little different than Emma. Don't forget to turn your oven off. I always do. Nobody's perfect. It's beautiful, especially the broccoli got really crisp. Look, I love doing this makeup YouTube person thing. Oh, hot. Crisp, it's so good. This is flavor. This is why we don't want to crowd the pan. The last thing I'm gonna do a little different from Emma. Again, I think she did such a good job. We're just making some really minor tweaks and improvements here. So take what you will. Emma put the lemon on at the beginning of the cooking time. I don't like to do that because a lot of the acid and lovely lemon flavor that you get will bake off in the oven. So we are going to put the lemon on now at the end of the cooking time. And I'm gonna give my veggies a toss with my hands. Oh, so yummy. Okay, I need to stop myself. Everything's done. Let's assemble this bowl. The one major shortcut I did take that wasn't even included in Emma's recipe is that I feel like I want a grain with this kind of meal. I just feel like I want something a little more well-rounded. I want a carb. That's just how I am. So I had leftover rice in the fridge and I just microwaved it while everything else was going on. Should I have done the ice cube trick? If you know, you know. So I'm doing some broccoli. Obviously I'm gonna do kale. By the way, I should have said this at the beginning, but this meal would be amazing for meal prep. I'm just gonna... Okay, I actually like these. All right, Emma. The last thing are these little tofu nuggets. I'm obviously curious about them, so I'm gonna taste before I plate them. They need salt. They like really, really need salt. It happens. Let's add it now. Oh, it's like 10 times better. Such a good lesson. You might think something's screwed up and it only needs salt. Because I'm extra, I'm also garnishing with a wedge of lemon. Look, it's cute. Here's the second round of dressing. Drizzle it on. You will not find me eating a meal that does not have sauce on it. Look how good this looks. Let's taste it. When are they gonna invent smell-o-vision? How stupid is that joke? I'm so sorry. Let's do it. Moment of truth. That's so good. Yes, Emma, you can cook. I'm not gonna say the sauce makes it, but it's a big improvement. Okay. Sorry to all the misophonia folks, but like, subscribe, leave a comment down below if you like this. Oh, are there other YouTubers that you would like to see me review their food? And I'm not talking about food YouTubers. Are there lifestyle people you follow, you see them cook, and you want to see me recreate, put my own spin on their recipes? Tell me down below. I'm a YouTube noob, so I need your input. I'm not gonna give you a forehead kiss. I also cannot burp, so let's just keep the sign off simple. Have a lovely, well-fed week ahead, and until next time.